Hello Reformers and welcome to Sunless Skies. This is a heavy narrative-driven game with a lot of exploration and a little bit of fighting and quite heavy roguelike elements as well. And for this, I'm going to take a little bit of a different style. I'm going to be reading a lot of text, and so I'm kind of going to try and focus on doing that much more than my usual commentary. So I will be saying a couple of things when I feel like I should, but for the most part, we're just going to concentrate on the wonderful story the game will bring to us. Alright, so beginning a new game. If you die, you can only continue with a new captain, or if you die, you can reload or continue with a new captain. I'm actually going to go for Legacy Campaign here. And we have our difficulty, of course. We can make all of these easier, and standard is, as far as I am aware, the default kind of hard, not really hard, but you know, if you want an easier time, then you can change all of these. And if you'd like to check out the game, by the way, there is a link in the description. Log of Her Majesty's Locomotive the Orphean, March 14th, 1905. Our expedition to the domains of the dead has been eventful. The Orphean is damaged and in grievous need of repairs and supplies. We are returning in haste to the Reach, where I hope to make port at New Winchester. May God be with us, for 1,000 deaths wait in the sky. Alright, so here we are. We have our little vessel here, and we're going to be traversing through the world. You have returned to the Reach, an untamed, sunless span of the heavens, London's new frontier, a celestial garden run wild. Your journey back from the Blue Kingdom was tumultuous. Your locomotive is damaged, and Captain Whitlock badly wounded. As first officer, the crew look to you. The nearest station is New Winchester. Can you get the Orphean there safely? Much to the relief of your stokers, you find a barrel of fuel among the detritus. A wreck drifts here, less fortunate even than you. We should scavenge her for repairs, a crewman suggests. The wreck hangs in the sky, pocked with recent gunfire. You and the boarding party don your sky suits, garments of waxed canvas lined with felt, to protect against the cold of the sky. Two of the crew are whispering as they dress. What business did Captain Whitlock have in the Blue Kingdom anyway? Why the devil did we trespass on the districts of the dead? You silence him. Now's not the time. Leap across to the wreck. The gap between the two engines isn't wide, but the endless fathoms of heaven gape beneath it. Leading the way, you jump. Your stomach lurches with vertigo as the stars blaze above you and below. The air of the heavens is thin and torn by unpredictable winds. Then your boots hit the running board of the Ozymandias, and your leather-gloved hands fumble for a hold. One of your companions throws you a line, and you lash the two engines together. Only then do the rest of the boarding party follow you. One of them forces open an exterior hatch, and you clamber inside. Her interior is cold, unlit, and whistles with wind. Your party's lamps spread buttery light over the narrow paneled passages. You make your way towards the hold, stepping over bodies crumpled in the corridor. Unfortunately, your way is blocked. A bulkhead has been mangled inward by a well-aimed barrage. So we can now select two options. We can either attempt to clear the obstruction away, or we can lead our party on a more precarious path. I think we're probably going to try and clear the obstruction away. As you strain against the stubborn steel, you remember an event from a year ago. A boiler explosion had trapped an engineer under a tangle of plating and pipework. The captain was first on the scene, you were second. Together you managed to pry the wreckage upwards enough for you to crawl beneath it, while the captain braced the bar across her back. By all means, take your time, she grunted as you dragged the engineer out. Back in the present, the twisted bulkhead yields. Your companions clear the exposed rubble away. The way is clear. You have reached the Ozymandias' hold, a ruin of smashed cargo and spilled supplies. Hopefully, somewhere amidst the detritus you can find parts to repair the Orpheon and restock your stores. Conduct a thorough search. Your companions work quickly. The Ozymandias' hull has begun to creak. Your actions on board may have compromised its integrity. You find enough food and gear to restock your supplies and enough spare parts to make necessary repairs to the Orpheon. The food will need to be thoroughly thawed, of course, but you've eaten worse in the skies. "Oh-ho!" cries one of your party, prying the lid off a long crate. It holds a cannon still nestled in straw. Another crewman pulls a battered birdcage from a pile of ruined cargo. Within the cage, something winged and furred opens a sullen eye. You examine your finds. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances. From the chaos of its hold, you have retrieved repairs and supplies, and discovered some useful equipment. A gun that could be mounted on your locomotive, and an educated bat. So we can either mount the Jerusalem cannon on the Orpheon. Your own weapons were damaged during your flight from the Blue Kingdom, that leaves you vulnerable, or liberate a diffident bat and employ it as a scout. Well, I think we'll probably mount the cannon. The Cotterall on Hathersage Jerusalem fires single shells to a good range, more or less accurately. You order 2 of your party to get it back to your vessel and fit it immediately. The Ozymandias groans again. The structure shudders spasmodically. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances once again. And so, we can also do this, apparently. The bat treats its rescue as an inconvenience and immediately begins haggling over pay. You offer to put it back in its damn cage and leave it on the Ozymandias, at which point it becomes more polite. You doubt it will last. So now we can choose between pressing on to the engine room. We might find more fuel, but we'd better hurry because it is beginning to tear apart. I think we will probably press on and try to find more fuel. The wreck of the Ozymandias screeches as its metal buckles and tears. You press on through the shuddering corridors, searching frantically for the engine room. We can send a smaller party ahead to retrieve fuel, or we can go ourselves and conduct a hasty search. I think we will go ourselves and send the rest of the boarding party back to the Orpheon. That was a failure, unfortunately. The engine room is grey with spilled ash and littered with corpses. Little has survived the Ozymandias' ruin. You search fruitlessly for coal, but linger too long. As the wreck is racked with final, violent tremors, you race back to the Orpheon. With a dying groan, the Ozymandias splits in 2, sending shards of splintered plating spinning into the sky. Several of them bite into the Orpheon, mauling its hull. Stoking your engines, you steam away from the collapsing wreck. You are restocked, at least, and rearmed. Alright, so we probably should have sent a scouting party ahead in that particular instance, but it's okay. Hopefully we'll be able to survive with the current health that we have. Alright, so you can send a scout out. That will cost a little bit of supplies. Your scout has discovered something out in the sky. The walls of the captain's cabin are lined with a hodgepodge of curios from across the sky. Captain Whitlock lies in bed. Black marks cover her skin like a monstrous brand. When she coughs, coils of acrid smoke pour from her lungs. Let us inquire after the captain's injuries. A word of living fire pursued the Orpheon across the Blue Kingdom. It caught you just before you passed through the transit relay to the Reach, and set its brand upon the captain. "It's burned itself right through her," the doctor whispers. "When I closed the worst of her wounds, I could see the sign is seared into her bones and her organs. Judging from her symptoms, it's on the inside of her lungs, too." The captain leans to one side and vomits a plume of fire into a copper bowl. There is nothing the doctor can do. Approach the bedside. The captain opens her eyes as you draw near. She attempts to smile. Her mouth is blistered from the blue fires that dance on her tongue. Her hand grips your arm. Her skin is hot as a kettle. Made arrangements. The Orpheum will be yours. Her voice is just a rasp of burned meat breath. But promise. She breaks off to scream a word in a language that was not made for human mouths. When she resumes speaking English, she is weaker, her request little more than a gasp. Promise me one last service. Promise. And we will be promising her. She sinks back, relieved. All in my will, she gasps. Be a better, she breaks off, as the sigils burned into her bones flare, glowing cherry red through her flesh and skin. Better, Captain, than I. The effort exhausts her. She sinks back into the scorched pillows and a twisting, frantic fever. Take your leave. You have an engine to command. You leave the cabin and the scorched stink of its air behind and return to the bridge. New Winchester is further than you'd like, and the captain hasn't long left. Alright, so we now have the ability to fire thanks to that cannon that we retrieved. And we're going to clear the way. You approach the buckled wreckage, poised to plunder the plunderers. Behind you, someone is humming a song of victory. We can raid the remains, or we can strip it for repairs. I think we will raid the remains. Your boarding party returns with wallets and watches, cufflinks, lockets, and keepsakes. You store them in the safe to be pawned when, if, you make it back to port. Your scout has nothing to report, except that the sky is vast and the winds bite. I was hopeful that it might give us an idea about where we need to go, but as you can see, there we go, we are leaving the tutorial. No, I actually don't want to do that. I would like to be able to determine Captain Whitlock's fate, so we are going to turn back and continue. Make your way to New Winchester to conclude the tutorial. You can use your scout to locate it if you haven't already. Yes, that's what I was attempting to do. Seems like we have more enemies on the horizon. Let's see what we can do with it. We will strip it for repairs this time around. Your engineers scour the remains of the Marauder for intact parts. Even before its defeat, it was rusting and rickety, its plating a patchwork of reclaimed steel and repurposed bronze wood, but enough can be salvaged to repair some of the damage to your own locomotive. The taste of smog, the sound of iron on iron, we are home. You coast into the bustle, the din, the soot, and the steam of Wolvesey Station. It is clogged with other engines, scrappy mining locomotives from Lustrum Way, weathered explorers gleaming with frost, sleek company vessels with bright, brass fittings. No sooner have you pulled into the sidings than a brusque station master bustles over. He requests to come aboard. I must speak with your captain, he insists, brandishing a ledger. The usual formalities. Look to the Orpheum's doctor. He has just appeared at your shoulder. His face is solemn. His hat is in his hands. He lowers his eyes. The crew exchange bleak, wordless looks. The Orpheum itself feels suddenly more empty. The station master looks confused. You inform him that unfortunately, Captain Whitlock has just passed. Ah, he says neutrally. Sorry to hear that. Very sad, very sad. He waits for what he considers an appropriate minute and a half before continuing. Alas, even amidst tragedy, the cogs of bureaucracy must turn. If Captain Whitlock is deceased, the station authority require their answers from the first officer. He dons a set of spectacles and locates his pen. It will be relatively painless. Name, background, purpose of visit, etc. Shall we begin? So now we can actually create our captain. And we could actually even go for a random one, which I think might be quite fun. But I am going to have a look and see the various options we can choose from here. So, we can choose the Knotted Sock, a close-knit band that occupied a haunted rookery in the worst part of the city. We can go for the Fisher Kings. Every Fisher King bears an old wound. Every Fisher King talks to the wind. Every Fisher King knows things they should not know. This, of course, all has an effect on gameplay. And as you can see, increases your heart skill, increases your mirror skill, deducing, observing, enduring, convincing, and so on. And we have the regiment, the most militaristic of the gangs. In their blue jackets and bright buttons, you attain the rank of corporal. Increase your iron, the skill of confronting and overcoming. So there's also that. Or we can just go for being a street urchin if we so desire. We can also decide all of these various things. A poet, we can choose all of these. It is amazing. The amount of different selections is just wonderful. Very, very nice. I'm actually going to click random captain once, and we're going to see what we get. Alright. So, this is what we get. You were a priest. You preached the word and brought the needs of the world before the church in intercession. But besides God Almighty, to whom did you answer? Also, a bright-eyed sequencer. She was uncannily persuasive, but is that a surprise? The new sequence promises to bring light to the dark, to break chains that have bound us since before we were born. Who wouldn't desire that? And our ambition is fame. For centuries, people have launched themselves into the unknown in the hope of making a name for themselves. You're sure you'll succeed. After all, you never heard of anyone who didn't. Gather stories of your exploits and write about them in New Winchester. And name and appearance, well, apparently that's random. So, I guess we'll just go with this. 3 weeks have passed. This morning, Captain Whitlock received a simple memorial service. Her body was consigned to a necropolis train bound for the serene mausoleum. Now you sit with a handful of her relatives in the threadbare offices of her solicitors. A methodical notary is reading the will. The captain was wealthy once, but squandered her capital on mysterious expenses before her expedition to the Blue Kingdom. Now, we do have a little bit of advice on the left side here. In addition to your ordinary crew, you now have an officer or perhaps a mascot. You'll need to formally appoint them before you can benefit from their skills, abilities, or animal charisma. To do this, open the officer's panel while in port. Well, I will be doing that, but obviously not just yet. Let us listen to the end. True to her word. In a final codicil, the notary announces, Captain Whitlock confirmed that possession of the Orpheon was to pass to its first officer. He appears at you with dry, grey eyes. This includes a certain black box contained in the Orpheon's hold. Captain Whitlock's final request was that, at a time of your choosing, you transport said box to an address in London. He hands you an address card. And deposit it there. You are not to look inside. She gave no explanation. And that's it. You're captain now. The Orpheon is yours. So, we can investigate the black box at the New Winchester. You could take it, or you could sell it, and be done. We are going to be taking it to London, in my opinion. I think that's going to be much more fun than just selling it randomly. And we are here at Wolvesey Station, so we can recruit the incautious driver. I specialize in test driving, but I'm looking for something quieter. An opportunity, the fastidious inspector. Investigate the black box, follow your ambition, hire on crew. Yeah, well, we could go to the officers menu right here. So your officers, so you can do all of these different things here. Yes, okay, that's absolutely fine. Fantastic. Okay, so if I Can I not select some people here? Yeah, it seems like I can select a couple of people. I can see myself. I can see my inventory, of course. And, yeah, we can see all of that. Okay, so we should probably hire on some crew, shouldn't we? Your voyages have grown perilous of late. Numbers and morale are lower than they were. Today, New Winchester is abuzz with rumour. A famous tackety captain has turned tail and fled back to London, promised a generous pension and a full pardon in exchange for selling secrets. His crew are at a loose end, and under a cloud of suspicion, will they ever find work again? No one else will have them? Okay, sure. Initially, the crew members are suspicious. They think you might be a journalist for the Gazette. Still, they're happy to drink on your coin, and as the night progresses, their reserve vanishes. When they arrive at your engine the next day to sign their papers, they come with headaches and nausea and the last of their things. They go to their berths, ready to make for the stars again. An occurrence. Your crew quality is now 10. Very nice. Okay, so that's pretty good in my opinion. Is there anything else? I can repair it. Do I really need to repair it? It's still pretty good in HP. Follow your ambition, the song of the sky. It looms in your mind an unfinished monument. I think we should probably take this opportunity. Excuse me, Captain. A woman pushes through the crowds toward you. She is short and square-shouldered in a neat black suit and polished shoes. She shows you the case of her pocket watch. It is embossed with the crown and hourglass of London's Horological Office. The body responsible for ensuring time is consistent across the empire. "I'm hoping to book passage to Port Prosper," she says, slipping the watch away. "I can, of course, pay." Pay sounds promising. "Thank you. The locomotive I was on broke down following a boiler rupture. The chief engineer's fault, I suspect. A gentleman fonder of brandy than of diligence. Here, an initial sum to seal our bargain." Prosper lies to the east of New Winchester. Not that there is such a thing as north, south, east, or indeed west out here. Instead, London cartographers picked 4 of the brighter, more reliable stars visible from the Empress's new palace and named them north, east, south, and west. Londoners value familiarity. Very true. Anyway, that is that. Okay, onwards. And I think, with that, I will be ending this episode off here. If you would like to hear, or indeed see more, then by all means, let me know. And otherwise, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.